related information to things from your Salesforce accounts, even if you haven't linked them. So anytime you have Salesforce data, you can have Evernote data that is the most relevant data for that, and vice versa. And you can go back and forth with one user or with your entire team, just integrate it directly into the Salesforce client. Now this is just the first step of our partnership with Salesforce. It is doing a lot more stuff that we're very excited about that's coming in the next couple of months. But as of right now, actually as of next week, Evernote Business 2.0 is available to all of our customers, including the full integration with Salesforce. So it brings me really great pleasure. I'm really honored to be able to invite up on stage one of the people who's been the greatest mentor for me, someone I really look up to, someone who is really almost invented the concept of the cloud single-handedly, certainly popularized it. And I shamelessly learned as much as I can, as much as I could from this guy. I hope to still be able to get a bunch more knowledge soon. I'm going to bring up on stage one of my heroes, Marc Benioff, CEO of Salesforce. See you. How are you, Phil? And just so that this doesn't turn into an entire conversation of just me fawning over how awesome Marc is, also, Malik to actually facilitate a discussion. Please welcome Malik.
Behind this desk?
Oh, no, I'm on chair duty, so.
Oh, all right, great, fantastic. Well, Phil, you're a full-service operation. You make the announcements, and you also move the chairs.
These are very nice chairs, and we would have had them at the beginning, but there was some dancing happening, and
nice.
Potential physical comedy.
Great. Chairs. Where would you like me to go?
How about right now?
Okay, wonderful. These are actually my favorite chairs.
They're very nice.
I use them actually on my desk.
There's a decent chance that one of us is going to roll off the stage.
Yeah.
That'll be funny. That'll be a thing. Whew.
All right.
Thank you.
I have to hold the water bottle the whole time also.
No, I will hold your water, Marc.
That's service.
Phil, you surely can talk.
Why don't you talk for a bit, and then I'm just going to go through both of these.
No, we were just listening to you backstage, and we said, yeah, this guy can definitely...
Oh, the guy can talk. We just keep talking. He's a half an hour later and he's talking so much. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you for that totally not backhanded compliment.
Phil, you know that's why I'm here. I like that watch.
Thank you. This is the Samsung Galaxy Gear.
Very nice.
It is. We're doing a lot of work with wearable stuff.
Very nice.
It's a lot better than I expected it to be.
Very cool.
Looks like I'm just here for the show.
Oh, I'm ready for you, baby.
No, it's like I was preparing questions. I was up all night thinking about...
You were up all night?
Yeah, like it's just like this is a big day. Two gods of SaaS and future of work and startups sitting there talking. And I was just like, what am I going to ask them? And seems like I don't need to do anything. You guys are pretty good about this whole thing on your own.
Well, what was on your mind last night?
What I would love to know, like everybody in this room, is what does the office look like in the future? I mean, you know, you make a lot of software, What should people expect from their office in the future? And I'm not talking about Microsoft Office, I'm talking about the office itself.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great question, and that's something I think about a lot. How many people here only have a phone with them today? They don't have a laptop or a tablet. How many have just a phone or a tablet but not a laptop? How many people have a tablet, a phone, and a laptop? How many people have a phone, a laptop, a tablet, and a watch? Well, I mean, I think that that's kind of it. I mean, we're in this kind of spectrum. And for me, I only travel with a phone now. I'm on the phone all the time. That's what's important to me. That's where I do all my work. I was kind of showing that to you backstage. I don't have a necessity to even have a tablet or a laptop. I think there's certainly different levels of work. People want to, maybe they want a laptop, maybe they still want an iPad, but these phones are getting pretty darn good.
So do you think we have a real physical office space, or do you think we are entering a point where there is no such thing as an office, and office is actually just a state of mind?
I don't, I think that that's an and not an or. I think that, yes, office is a state of mind. Yes, you can work anywhere, but I think it's also very important to come together as a team and have structured workspace. I think this conference is quite evident. We could do this conference all online. Certainly the technology is there to do that, but there's a joy, there's an elation, there's an excitement to all come together, in this type of a forum. And I think for the same reason, I think work is very much like that. Work is a joy, an elation, and it's about coming together and getting something done, talking to other people, collaborating, sharing. That's a great power. We just a few blocks away from here, we have a new building we just moved into at 50 Fremont Street, and right across the street, we're building another building, 350 Mission. We have almost 1.5 million square feet in downtown San Francisco because our employees, they need somewhere to work. It's important, but doesn't mean that they can't go to Starbucks or their home and also work there.
I think the question I was trying to ask is driven by the fact that the idea of the office we have today is from the 1950s, post-World War II industrialization, cubicles and office and conference rooms. And whereas, as you just saw, everybody has tablets and phones and they can work from anywhere. Yeah. So what is the office really do?
Yeah, well, I think that that's definitely an evolving area, and in our new buildings we have all kinds of new flexible type workspaces. You can do, how you could have a physical desk that is yours. You don't have to. We have things hanging from the ceiling. You can grab something from the ceiling, plug in. I think it really has to do with the personality of the worker, and we need to create an environment that's going to help people actualize themselves and realize their greatness, and whatever that is the best thing for them, we should offer that full flexibility.
What about you, Phil? What's your thought on that?
Well, I think that the best thing that Marc has just said is the word joy. I think the idea that the goal of the office isn't getting rid of the office isn't the goal. Just like getting rid of paper isn't the goal. The goal is to get rid of the bad experiences with the office and preserve the good ones. And so we need to make people productive 24 hours a day, even when they're outside of the office. But we also need to have an office environment that makes them hyper-productive, that gives them joy, that lets them have an experience that's better than the experience they have without it. So I think just making if you show up to the office, you want to have more fun and be more productive and get more done than if you chose not to. That ought to be the way you run it.
I think the bigger.
And I think the key is that different kind of folks are going to need different kinds of experiences, and I don't think it's going to be a one-size-fits-all type capability. I'd love to have you come over to our new place, and I'll show you, a lot of different examples of things that we're testing of what we think could be. But I think at the end of the day, we'll have a lot of different approaches.
I think the challenge of this new world which we've entered is that it's pretty hard to tell when the day is over, right? It's like 24/7.
Sure.
At some point, it starts to wear you down both as an employer and an employee.
Do you feel worn down?
A lot. It's like just the pressure of just asking you questions is wearing me down.
Understand. Up late at night, feeling worn down. Okay.
But it's
all
like,
right.
It's like a 24/7
We're getting there.
thing.
We're getting there.
But I think the thing that I found about it's kind of a magic property of time, right? Which is if I'm working on stuff that's sufficiently epic, I don't really get tired, and I have a lot of time to do it. And we can do a huge amount of stuff as long as that stuff is great and we're excited about it and we genuinely want to do it. And then as soon as you start working on something that isn't particularly interesting, then you get tired, then you run out of time, then you start thinking about the life-work balance. So I think the trick is just work on something that's sufficiently epic, and turns out there's infinite time in the world.
Well, I'll tell you, it kind of reminds me, 2 days ago I had my 49th birthday. I'm significantly older than you are, and I was thinking about the first third of my life is really a lot about learning. That was a huge part of the first third of my life. The second third of my life was very much about creating, and the third third of my life is very much about giving back, and giving. And then it kind of occurred to me that really that in every moment, in this moment, each moment, especially right now, that constant learning and creating and giving, that's what I'm doing all the time. And that's, brings me a lot of my own joy, to make sure that those things are really lined up. And for someone who's been working for 25 or 30 years of my life, or maybe more, the times that I feel the most excitement or energized in my work is when I can see that it has such a positive outcome for others in kind of giving them some kind of joy in their own life.
Yeah, I think this is the central thing that I picked up from you, that I learned from your book, is this idea that work isn't the thing that you do during 8 hours of the day so that you can then do something else. And a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people are, okay, I'm in the office, I'm working for 8 hours because the thing that I really care about is the thing that happens afterwards. And that's fine, but it's a much happier way to live if you say, no, the thing that I'm working on is the thing that I really, really care about, and I'm moving forward with it.
Well, we talk about that all the time. You call it the spark. And I don't know if you've talked about the spark in the conference.
That would take another 6 hours.
But, well, I think it's really important, actually. You have such a, it's very profound and important, but, that idea is how do you create that spark inside yourself and nurture it, connect it to your work so that your work is creating the spark. Do you want to just talk about that?
Wow. This is what, so now you guys know what CEOs talk about at private conferences. It's all like Kabbalistic, magic realism stuff with scotch. I don't actually think it's nearly as profound as Marc said. I just think that, Louis C.K. Had a viral video a few days ago, and I'm not sure you guys saw it. I just saw it yesterday because I've been so busy, but I guess he went and he just railed against kids having smartphones and how everything this is all just empty, and he kind of had this point where he said, well, how you're sitting in the car and you're driving and you all of a sudden you feel like, you feel the emptiness inside. And he said, you know what I'm talking about? And was it Conan? I think it was Conan. Yeah. There's, and as soon as you feel that emptiness, like you're all alone and life isn't really worth anything, and then you immediately want to distract yourself, and so you're texting and you're tweeting and things like that. But maybe it's more human to really kind of embrace that feeling and really kind of understand that and dwell on it. And I thought, man, there's your problem right there, is you got that emptiness inside, and I don't know what he's talking about. I think there is a point in life. I think there's a purpose. I think you can work towards it. I think you can accomplish awesome things. I think you can make the universe know that you were in it. And in fact, to some extent, you can make the universe happy that you were in it. And that's there's meaning there. And so, turns out, I guess, if you're a stand-up comedian and you have some emptiness inside, and you can say cool things about it. But I think it's better to structure your life such that there is no fundamental emptiness. There's a fundamental purpose. And I think that's something you've managed to do your whole life.
How did you come up with this realization for yourself?
I didn't realize this was going to be this kind of session.
Well, we talked about the importance of work. I think that's squarely right in it right now.
I guess I've always been motivated to try to have an impact in the world. And I come from a family of musicians and artists and kind of other important people. And if I had any talent as a writer or a musician or an artist, I think those would be really great, legitimate ways to try to have an impact in the world. But I kind of don't have any talent as any of those things, especially as a dancer. And so the avenue left to me was entrepreneurship, was trying to actually create something. And that's what we try to do. But the only trick behind it is somehow I've been able to get the world's most brilliant and creative and hardworking and amazing people to somehow say, yeah, that sounds possible. Let's go do that with Phil. So that's all it is. It's getting, I get amazingly talented people together, and I make sure they have enough coffee, to change the world.
I would love to have this CEO bromance continue. But we would love to know, as employees and not as CEOs, that how do you, like seriously, the serious question is...
We only are serious here.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
I think that the challenge of work as we know it is defined by a very old-fashioned idea of work. 8 hours, going to an office. From an employee perspective, you always think in certain finite, containers. That's the container in the day, the time slot. I'm going to work and I'm working. How do you, as founders, as CEOs, turn that idea of having a structured workday into a fluid work environment, and yet let people have, fulfilling personal lives? And I think that's a legitimate challenge of our time.
I think that is a legitimate challenge of our time. I think in each and every Salesforce.com employee survey that we have done, there's 2 or 3 things that always stand out to me as really significant. One is what you're articulating really well, which is they'll comment they don't have enough work-life balance. That's number one for all of our employees. I don't know if that's because of the work environment that we create, or if we're self-selecting these people. That is, we either A, choose people who are really hardworking and committed to having that kind of a life, and those are the kind of people we're interviewing and choosing at Salesforce, or Salesforce is an environment that just is so stimulating and exciting to them that it tips their work-life balance. And the second thing that we focus on is to help give them that sense of meaning and purpose in their life. That when we started our company, we put 1% of our equity, 1% of our profit, and 1% of all of our employees' time into a 501c3 public charity. As you know, it was very easy. We had no equity, we had no profit, we had no employees. But now that we've made that decision, our employees have done over 500,000 hours of volunteerism. We've given away tens of millions of dollars, in grants to organizations all over the world. I've even had a chance to do charity work myself. I recently gave, as you know, $100 million to UCSF Children's Hospital, and we run over 20,000 nonprofits for free on our services. And why that's important to me is it's really connected back to Phil's comment in that when we're committing ourselves to working, we're creating more software, we're creating more technology, that's going to happen. There's always going to be a great new startup, a great new technology model, a great new company, a great new paradigm. But are we finding a way to make the world a better place through our work? How do we integrate our companies more deeply into the individuals and organizations that really need us? And I think that's where we find the purpose, and I think that's where we find the fulfillment.
Well, Phil, just as an add-on question to that is, the purpose, the fulfillment is one aspect of work-life balance, but then there is the life part of the work life. Whereas when you're working on a tool, the tools you have made and Marc's company's made, they essentially come in the way of some of the personal time people have. So how does, as an employer, you find the balance between what your needs are as a company and what people's needs are as a family? How do you do that? What are the lessons you have learned, the two of you can share with millions of companies which out there will face the same dilemma sooner or later?
Well, forget about work-life balance. I don't even have balance. I can barely walk straight. I'm always walking into walls and tripping over chairs, and I'm legitimately terrified of sitting in rolling chairs on a stage like this.
We'll save you.
All right. And so I guess I mostly hold the team together just through physical comedy, just constantly falling over. I really don't think there's a trick here. I think so. A lot of it is self-selection. That's what Marc says, right? So we people don't come to work at Evernote because they want an easy job. So we filter those people out. Like, people aren't showing up because they want to have an easy job that supports a different lifestyle. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of people who are perfectly right to say, like, hey, I kind of want an easy job because my real passion is somewhere else. I want to have a job that supports my lifestyle. Those people don't show up for jobs at Evernote. And if they do, they won't be particularly happy there.
And I agree with that. You know, when I started Salesforce, I had worked at two really great companies, Apple and Oracle, for two great leaders, Steve Jobs and Larry Ellison. And when I created Salesforce, I want to create a great company that is a lot of fun to work at, and that for people who want to work, enjoy their work, and who want to immerse themselves in work, this is a vehicle that they can choose. It's not for everybody. There's a lot of different options, especially in this town, for companies that you can work in, but for the kind of company where you want to build great technology, create an industry, change the world, and give back, that's the kind of organization that I want. And I want to be able to, you know, work and play as a team, and I want people on my team who are also as committed to that as I am.
So let me ask you, as a founder, what are the things which you found challenging, which you want to share with people who are out there trying to start their companies? What are the lessons that you've learned?
Well, the number one lesson for me personally that I keep falling over and fumbling over myself, that Phil's comment about balance, that as a founder, people are always overestimating what you can do in a year and underestimating what you can do in a decade. And that is true in technology, that is true in your business, that is true in your philanthropy, that is true in your relationships. That is true in every aspect of your life, and it's, for whatever reason, as human beings, we have a hard time kind of developing that kind of long view and really say, you know what, over the next 1, 2, or 3 decades, I'm going to get this done, that this is what I want to get done. And this is a skill and a gift that we need to kind of grow and develop and nurture inside ourselves, so that when we start our companies or start our philanthropy or start our career in any way, we kind of have some clear markers and big goals. You know, set big dreams. And if you're setting a big dream, you can probably go even bigger. I look at a lot of the accomplishments of my peers. I look at the accomplishments of people that I only know through media, and I go, whoa, can we go even farther? Can we set a bigger idea? And I see the folks who have trouble are looking at things at too short a perspective and too short a time frame. You need more perspective. You need a bigger view on the world. You need to think out over the long view and long term. And if you can do that, you'd recognize we are in one of the most magical, amazing times in our industry, and certainly in the world ever. I mean, this is an unbelievable time to be in the industry, to be alive, to be on the earth. I mean, the changes and transformations that are going on each and every moment, phenomenal. And just to get into the present moment and recognize that is awesome. And then if you can take that, Phil's concept of a spark, and then just look at that over the next 1 or 2 or 3 decades, it's awesome. But we ourselves have to take that view. We have to get that vision. We have to kind of create that dream and look for that big outcome. And not just the transaction, not just the deal, the financing round, the job. Take a bigger view. Look out and really try to say, okay, what am I going to get done here? Because we are living through a time when you can get a lot done and do a lot of amazing things. I know you've seen that yourself in your own life.
What about you, Phil? What's your big lesson? I mean, that's an amazing lesson.
It really is, and I think it's really amazing. I think the real truth to that is that it's often actually easier to think 10 years ahead than it is to think 1 year ahead. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, are really good at thinking, like, making the tactical plan for the next couple of months, like one release cycle of software. But then where they get stuck is like, well, where's it going to go in 1 or 2 years? And it's like that 1 or 2 years, like that's a dead zone where it's so much uncertainty, it's really tough to see. But if you force yourself to go 10 years ahead or 20 years ahead, like, you can actually make sense of it. I don't know if you guys actually heard of the stuff we did yesterday, but we launched some crazy stuff. We kind of became a fashion brand overnight, and that's not a decision that you can make if you're thinking 2 months ahead. Like, there is never a good time where you're like, you know what, 2 months from now, yeah, that's when that's going to make sense. But if you think a few years ahead, if you think about like where is the company going? Why does it exist here? Why does the Evernote deserve to be in the world? Then a lot of these steps make a lot of sense when you're looking at a 10 or a 20 or or a 100-year cycle, and it's easier to do that. And I think Marc said that much better than I could have. So yeah, I would echo the same advice. Just think a decade in the future.
So sorry to interrupt. The biggest challenge is, and I've done a company. This is our year 8 of the company, and the challenge is that on any given day there is a sense of panic.
Yeah.
You don't quite know if tomorrow will ever happen. It doesn't matter whether it's year 1 or year 8, there is panic, there is something happening which basically puts you off and just, so how do you train yourself to stay focused on the big prize, on the long term? What have the two of you, what have you done to keep focused like that?
I think this is actually very important and much more profound than, and I think relevant for each and every person, because, what you said is, you're at work, you're in your startup, you're creating your organization, and you're experiencing the sense of panic, right? You're not sleeping well, and you don't have a sense of what's going to happen next. That's the time for you actually to take a step back. Take a step back, take a break, take a breath, and get some perspective, and step away from the panic, and get back into the present moment. And it's actually very much connected to what I said in the last response. For me, I think that one of the most important things that I do personally every morning is take some private time for meditation, for prayer, to open my mind up and create some empty space where I can relieve that stress, okay, which is very much what you're referring to. And when you want to create something amazing, phenomenal, and you want to leave a legacy, there's going to be stress associated with that. That could be in your family. That could just be in yourself. That could be in your business. That means that each and every day, you want to have the tools inside yourself to open up. Open up just a little bit further. Create a little bit more opportunity inside yourself to move that panic away, to move that stress away, to move whatever's bothering you away, and let the spark that Phil is talking about come in. The spark of the future, the possibility of all the good things, all the people around your life, all of the great things that you've accomplished, all of the great things that are coming to you now and in the future. And that is a skill that is worth having. And one of the people who's really influenced my life a lot was Steve Jobs. And recently I was at an event that honored his life, and at the end they gave us a small gift as we left the event. And the gift that they gave us turned out to be his favorite book. So I knew that this was going to be something that I would enjoy. Well, it turned out it's a book that I had read before, but I'd only read it once, honestly. And I didn't realize that Steve Jobs read it every single year, once a year. And actually was so interested in the book that he called the publisher, the writer, had since passed on, and talked to the organization associated with the book. I had spoken about this actually a couple weeks ago at a conference right here in this building, and the book is called Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda. And that was Steve Jobs' favorite book. It's a book about realizing yourself and doing exactly what you're talking about, which is building the skills to be able to take each and every day on and have a sense of accomplishment, have aspect of self-realization without the stress and the troubles or suffering that come along with creating something amazing. And I actually got a letter last week from this self-realization group, basically telling me that Steve Jobs was contacting them on a regular basis and staying in touch with them. And in fact, you know, he had mentioned that he read the book once a year. When we look at our great leaders in our industry, I think that sometimes we don't hear those messages when they're alive, how they're actually creating the greatness. Some of the things that might be happening behind the scenes, like taking a little time for themselves. And that's why I think it's important to talk about it. It's great to be able to get up on stage and do the slides, get back to the office, do the rah-rah, hire amazing people, have a vision, create a fabulous new product. You know, today's a great example of that. But, you know, the way life works is we have to kind of get back to what's important. We have to get back to those skills and those gifts inside ourselves and the tools so that we can create that future. And I think one of the most important messages of Steve Jobs' life is realize yourself. And if you can realize yourself, you can create very much what Steve Jobs did. I think it's his life lesson, actually. You know, when he was alive, and I had an opportunity to talk to him, you know, together, or I had some great experiences, or he'd invite me down to his office. That's kind of how you know, he was my guru in many ways. I would ask him a question, you know, the way I would ask a guru a question. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Maybe an area that I don't have the clarity in my own mind, I'm able to kind of reflect it back to him. That's a gift that you can then give to others once you have that peace of mind and that clarity. That's again a huge message, you know, from Steve.
I'm going to be sending startup founders to you, Dr. Marc. Phil?
I'm just looking forward to finally getting to play GTA 5 when this conference is over. that's what's been keeping me going for the past couple of days. There's a game that just came out, GTA 5, and it's the first time that it came out that I wasn't like taking a week off on the day it was released, so I could just play it for a week because other things were going on. But I said, like, all right, we're going to get through this conference, and then it's done. I played for about 48 hours straight. So
sounds good.
And by the way, I think that's a very key thing that he just said. You know, you go on the cover of Nature magazine this week, and Adam Grassley from UCSF just built these new video games that, you know, seem to be like correcting ADHD, creating greater mental agility, relieving stress.
I'm not sure that GTA teaches you positive life skills.
You know, you can find it, you know, maybe find it in snorkeling, maybe find it in walking in the park, maybe find it reading a book, but creating that space, you talk to great leaders like Phil, all of a sudden they're going to give you a little insight like he just gave us. Well, actually, you know what? I'll do my thing, but when I need to kind of move back, redact my life a little bit, open up the space, I'm going to, you know, play this game. I think everybody has a little something that they do. All the people I know who are successful, they all have a little tool in their pocket.
Well, I know we're running out of time, so I have a set of questions which I wanted answers to, which are less about the philosophy of tech and life and more about actually some real questions. Like, Phil, why moleskins and why not field notes? Field notes are made in America.
That's a great question. We actually did some stuff with field notes like 4 years ago. They were like the very first paper thing that we ever even like did anything with, and they're kind of cool. I think Moleskine is a fantastic iconic brand. I think Post-it is a fantastic iconic brand. I think it's just very people who love their products, who buy their stuff, have the same kind of obsessive attention to details as the kinds of people that we want to associate with Evernote. I just think it's a great product. You know, the Made in America stuff is an interesting concept. I don't think there's anything wrong with stuff being made everywhere. I think America benefits, or kind of the unique thing about the U.S. is that the U.S. is built in a way that if we do things right, we benefit when anybody else anywhere in the world is successful. Like American industry is set up in such a way that whenever anyone else anywhere is successful, we're successful as well. That's sort of the genius of how the American economy has been created. And we can screw that up. Like, it's not guaranteed to go on forever. And we're kind of doing a good job of partially screwing up with some of the stuff we're doing around immigration, which is just, it's weird. It's weird that we're preventing really great people from wanting to come here and be entrepreneurs. But as long as we don't make any like basic mistakes, I think America wins when everyone wins. So when I see stuff made anywhere, as long as it's high quality, as long as it's great, I think it's good for everyone. I think it's good for us.
Mark, I have a question for you. Who wins the cage fight between Bomber and Larry?
Before I answer that, I just want to say, people have been asking me, why is it that I wanted to come today to speak here, be on the stage with you and Phil. And of course, we have a long-term relationship. And Phil is somebody who I've had an opportunity to get to know over the last several years. And I think that this company, Evernote, is very fortunate to have someone like Phil who's such an intellect, a guru, somebody who has a deep soul, spiritual side to him, and so many amazing things to say. And that's why I wanted to come here and give him my full support.
We're trying to see like how many colors of red I can turn.
Well, I think it's evidence of the turnout here at the conference that everybody agrees with me that we're very fortunate to have a great leader like you running this great company, Evernote. So, congratulations.
Extremely kind of you. Thank you very much. It's almost certainly untrue, but extremely kind.
Back to Larry and Bomber cage fight. You're not going to dodge that question. Come on.
There's different types of leaders in our industry. There's visionary leaders, there's operational leaders, and Larry Ellison, who's my main mentor in my business career. He's an exceptional leader. You saw he's had an exceptional week. He had probably the best day of his life on Wednesday, and he is somebody that I continue to look at and say, wow, it's amazing what he can accomplish. And not every leader in our industry is successful as Larry is. And I think that people like Larry Ellison, like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates are people that we should look to. There's a lot of lessons there.
I want to be that successful, but I don't show up for my own event. It's like, that's pretty cool, right? Like, I'm going to go out some boats.
That actually adds to the Larry Ellison mystique. It's a key part of who he is.
Before I go, there's just two things I want from you. One, can you put the three of us in your Twitter photo, like your Twitter handle?
Sure, of course, whatever you want.
Right.
That's
you said it on the record, so it's very important to me. But to you, Phil, can I design the socks for you guys? I have a whole sock thing going on.
I know. We were thinking of you when we made them.
Yeah, so
absolutely. Evernote Business Socks 2.0, designed by Malik. I think that's the big news of the day.
There you go.
Make it happen.
I got some colors, but thank you guys for.
All right, okay,